you kindly make changes on the when they sign in, because they need to that changes has to be done. They have to sign in with unmute, sorry, mute and their camera off. So can you do that?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Setting. You can please on my video. Right. Okay. Thank you. Fine. Right. So shall we proceed with the session? Yeah, thank you, Subrat. I was just waiting for others also to sign in. Hope my slide is also visible.
Yes, ma'am, the slide is visible.
Right. Thank you. Fine. Thank you. So we'll just start with the session. So by then others also can come and join. Mm, right. So a very good morning and welcome to the first session on supply chain and logistics analytics. Today, yeah, so hope you, the participants in this session are from a bit of supply chain background. So I'm not clear about the background of yours. So, but then here we are going to focus on the supply chain and the logistics functionalities part with specific reference to the analytics. So, because in whichever function we are into in business scenarios, metrics plays a major role. So even if we are doing marketing, so as a brand, when we wanted to increase market share, so firstly we need to understand what is my present market share. And then you will have a goal and you will have a set target on how many years I'm going to increase the market share by which extent. So everything is has to be a measurable outcome. So only then even the progress will be identified rightly and you will have a better understanding on whether are you proceeding in the right direction or not. The simple example is the progress card, what we used to have in our school days, right? So otherwise, every child is talented in a different way. But then to measure the performance against each other, benchmarking the standards becomes inevitable. So for that reason, we were pushed upon to take up subjects and make the performances and also. Yes. Yeah, right, Subrat. So once you cannot measure, you cannot manage. So that's why, so though we talk a lot, all the motivational sessions are there, each and every child is good in their respective way, everything is fine and done. But then, you had to put some set standards, even the country as a whole, a nation as a whole. So we have some standard policies, practices, and which also is going to give us measurable outcomes. See, these measurable outcomes are very important when it comes to business context. Otherwise, you will never know, or else, as an individual business, you may feel that I have progressed to a great extent. But then, when you benchmark it with others and measurable outcomes are there, you will know whether you have literally progressed or you are at the same level only. Fine. So for that, this analytics plays a very, very vital role, whether it is marketing as a function or a human resource as a function. So even in training, right? So you keep measurable outcomes and pre-training and post-training activities are being done and the outcomes are being measured to understand as a person whether we have grown or not or understood the concept. And at least based on the performance outcome, you will be measured whether things are being upskilled for the human resource or not. So this metrics becomes inevitable in each and every aspect of business functions, right? And when it comes to supply chain and logistics, it is even more crucial because supply chain is a network of activity which is going to cover many players inside, right from your his suppliers, and all that. And when it comes to your production line, so manufacturers are there, inventory under that multiple verticals are there, inventory, procurement department, so production planning, so many administrative, the functional departments are there. And then when it goes to downstream again, so you have once it leaves the manufacturing facility, you have your logistics partner who plays a very, very incredible role in reaching the products to your customer. And then it is your wholesaler, dealer, distributor, retailer, and then it goes to the end user. So at each and every, since so many multiple stakeholders are involved, and keeping measurable outcomes, which is also giving you tangible benefits, are very, very important. So without that, yes, you have a supplier and you trust in him, and you know that yes, he is going to give a bit best quality. And this cannot go or this cannot work out just building a trust. So you need to have some guidelines, you need to have a framework, and also with assigning or allotting metrics to that is going to give you. So your task is also minimized as well as it is put into ease when you give a scores, when you give a number. So why do we have to purchase something online? Why do they ask us to rate? So instead they can give us a descriptive. So that is also given to give any additional inputs on the purchase what you have done. But still, it is becoming very easy to measure if you give 2 or 3 or 4 stars out of 5. So, since supply chain encompasses many interconnected components, defining suitable metrics is important to get a holistic status of the supply chain process. Would it be correct to say so? Yes, sir. Right, Subrat. It is not only for supply chain. So, this what you have said now is applicable for each and every business function. So unless and until it is just for your pleasure you're doing and you're not focused on any tangible outcomes, so you need not to do. So even at our house, so I always used to refer supply chain to a context to a mother's kitchen. All the process, whatever we do in supply chain, happens in your own kitchen itself. Planning, a mother or a wife knows, or anybody who's taking care of the family, running the family, they know for a 4-member family, how much they have to procure and cook, and for a 10-member family, how much they have to procure and cook. So here, the same in when it comes to a business, right? When it comes to a business context, it is magnified, and we do that in a manifold. So thousands of 4,000s of 5,000s of volumes and components and human resources. With that, we do that. But in a house, so we do it in a miniature way. So when we talk about the planning, you plan very well. You know how much to procure, how much to stock, because you enter the kitchen for a month, there will be a stock. And for organization, we call that as inventory. And the planning, and when there is a weekend, so when we know there are going the relatives going to flock, or you are going to visit outside, or you are going to stay indoors, any events are coming, any Diwali, Dashera type of functions are coming. So those are the months we are going to consume more groceries. So you will end up budgeting more for that, planning well. So that is your supply chain function as well. Plan, make, deliver, sell, and all that. And making is obviously the cooking that happens in your mother's kitchen. And when it comes to the organization's context, it is the production and the assembly line. So there, you demand prediction happens at the national level. The market, you understand the customer, what is their preferences, and how was the demand for car in the last quarter and in the previous quarter last year. So is the case with any other essential products as well. So this is how, so we do all the supply chain activities as an individual as well. And when it comes to organizations context also, we do the same activities. Only thing is the volume is different. The magnitude in which we do the performances are completely different, for which without the support of the technology, it is not possible. Your mother, for us or your mother, it may be a mind game. Just she knows how to calculate it just like that with the finger, not even a mobile phone. Or off late, we have developed a habit of putting reminder notes in a smartphone. So otherwise, nothing, no Excel sheets, no planning to that level was being done, because the target audience or the group are very, very small there. But when it comes to a big brands, Tatas, Birlas, Ambani, Reliance, and all that, may not be possible to do just with mind game, or having just executing with whatever you have. So that's where the technology comes. But whatever said and done, every area we are going to do or apply metrics. And that's what we are going to see in all the four sessions which are um, uh, planned to happen, scheduled to happen, right? So that's going to be the topic of discussion. The subject on the whole is supply chain and logistics analytics, the different perspectives on supply chain and logistics, where analytics are used and how measurable outcomes it gives. That's what is going to be the focus of the four sessions. And today's session, we are going to start with the basic demand planning. Anything and everything revolves around demand. No demand, no business. No business, no production. So you need to understand, or you need to uh, ensure that there is a demand for your products persisting with the customers. Otherwise, what is the point in producing pages now? So when there is no demand for the product at all, music tape recorders, when there is no, because technology has superseded, it has overtaken, and it has gone up to next level. So the product what you produce and the demand for those products with the customers are very, very important. So otherwise you will be doing business, but no takers will be there, and so is your profit margins. So demand planning is the crux of the entire supply chain planning activity. So once we understand that, immediately we are moving towards forecasting. Once the demand is there, you understand there is a demand. Obviously, then how much is the demand? How much should I produce? So this is where the forecasting plays a very, very vital role. And what is going to be the periodic shift or changes that could happen in the demand? Obviously, you take an example of an ice cream. So we all knew. So nobody has to come and take a lesson for us that ice cream sales are going to be more in summer and less in winter. So this is a logic. So is going to be the demand, more in summer and less in winter. And so is going to be your production, right? So once your demand planning is done very correctly with the appropriate tools, and then you go on with forecasting. So forecasting gives you a a direction, and it also gives to the operational level, it helps you to plan how much to produce in which seasonality. Exactly. The seasonality is what? So that's what, as we proceed further, rightly said Subrat. So as we proceed further, we are also going to see all the other aspects associated with that. This is going to be the coverage of our session today. So as we move on, just a short brief introduction on me. I'm Dr. Anandi Muralidharan. I am with NMIMS as a visiting faculty for more than 3 years now. But as time is running like anything, and I hold a doctorate in management, and I'm a trained supply chain professional with 24 plus years of work experience. I was working as a deputy director for Confederation of Indian Industry Institute of Logistics, and presently I'm a part-time director with Institute for Supply Management, which is a US-based certifying body on logistics and supply chain front. So prestigious CPA certifications are the ones which we offer. So I'm part of them now, and I also am United Nations trainer, a certified trainer by them. So every year I used to travel to their missions to conduct training programs, and this is one photograph of that which I always used to cherish, seeing that. So these are my United Nations participants representing different missions across the globe. So everything, anything and everything into logistics, supply chain, transportation. So all the verticals and in and out of supply chain and logistics. I also handle, so like what I do with NMIMS, I am also a visiting faculty with many business schools and universities. And yes, of course, I do some corporate training workshops as well. So that's a short brief on me. So as we proceed, we can talk. So anything be asked about me, yes, you also can ask me. And when it comes to our session or the course methodology, so this is what we are going to follow. These are going to be guided sessions of the concepts, and a lot of case examples we are going to include, because I always feel that taking reference from the case is going to help us out understand the concepts in the practical, from the practical perspective. So how using these concepts brands have progressed or established or resolved the complications that could arise in their processes, so cases. And here in analytics, apart with cases, there are also going to be workouts, which we are going to see. And for workout, the tool I'm going to use is simple Excel only, because Python also can be used, but then considering the convenience of the scholars, I'm restricting with Excel only. So because hands-on, everybody would be having in your laptops as well. So once we complete discussions during the session, so you can also just work out and understand. And real-time brand examples, lot many examples, and lot many instances we are going to discuss here. Obviously, the textbook concepts will be there, because those are the fundamentals, and referring those concepts in the business scenarios, how they've been used, is going to be our discussion board. So a mix of your term end examination will be a mix of theory and application. So I always used to put forth or ask a scenario or a concept, and you would try to replicate the scenario and come out with a solution. And kindly go through the textbooks and the recommended readings suggested by NMIMS as well. And obviously these course slides. So these course slides will be restricting to the session agenda, and which has more weightage and focus towards your term and examination. So this will be of great help when you attempt your TEE, and kindly focus on the decision making besides the tools as well. What tools are you going to use and what decisions are you going to make? So this is with respect to your examination. So focus on that area as well. So this is going to be our modus operandi as we go further. And this is our session agenda. So, so two sessions on simulation briefing and debriefing. Excluding that, we have four sessions to be completed, and this is the schedule. Fine. Going forward with today's session. So, as I briefed in the first slide itself, Uh, yeah, Subrat. We have received soft copies of certain reading materials from Upgrad and the shared device. So we haven't received any textbooks from NMIMS exactly. Yeah. So textbooks. So at times, so we used to I refer Supply Chain Management by Chopra and Mendel. So these are authored books which I refer. So those also can be. So those are available everywhere, either from a library or from an ebook format. You can refer those items. So what NMIMS is given is their own material as a soft copy. So that also you can refer. Authored books also or textbooks also can be referred. Fine. So if you are focusing on the examination point of view only, so the materials supplied by your NMIMS as well as my session slides would suffice. So knowledge enhancement, yes, if you want to gather 360-degree data and if you have time, is hoping all of you are working professionals, you can further go with the additional textbook readings. Yeah. Okay, Subra. Yeah, Subra. So here I know you all of you are working professionals. So I used to take the first name of yours and the address. So kindly, it is not. I may pronounce it wrong and all that. You can correct me. So otherwise, yes, hope it's fine for all of you. Right? So since it is business analytics, data analytics, since we are going to handle analytics part of the supply chain, let's shortly understand what is data analytics and what is business analytics because they frame the fundamentals of analytics, further to which we can understand the supply chain analytics better. So data analytics, broader umbrella time. So any data that is available and abundant. So your population that itself is a data. So you are a new mobile company. You wanted to launch a new mobile service provider like Airtel or Geo and all that. The entire population is your data because the entire population are going to be your prospective customers. So data analytics. So undoing what we are going to do with the data, we'll discuss later. So it's a broad umbrella term. A lot of raw data is there. And what is that? Entire population is the data for a mobile phone company. Fine. So how many are going to use it? So that is where you do go and do analytics. Not exactly who's a born child, a newborn child, and till the death, everybody is going to be your customer. Yes, of course, thanks to pandemic to from one context that even school students or below minors, everybody came into using the mobile phones. Otherwise, mobile phones were completely banned in the schools, right? So in the pandemic, we were left with no option. So that became a modem for operations or getting connected with their teachers as well. So otherwise, so here is where you understand who's going to be your target customers. So we use inferential statistics to survey a sample of the population and try extrapolating the data for population. Correct. So that is what. Or otherwise, the population is a very, very huge and big figure. What exactly and who's your exact target customers you derive from that. So you take a sample size and as you said, you extrapolate the data and understand who exactly are your customers. So otherwise, so this is a very, very important direction for your business. Otherwise, when you have your customers in this region here somewhere else and you make your sales in another region, so we say, right? So search where you have lost. So not, so maybe if we are entirely focusing on another direction, it is not going to prove us good result. So that is where the data analytics. Data is available abundantly everywhere. And what is that we are going to do with that data and how we are going to extract the data required for us matters a lot. On the other hand, when it comes to business analytics, whatever data we have gathered, when we put that into business usage. So here again, so you understand that, yeah, let's come to a practical discussion. So assuming that those who are from the age of 18 till death are my prospective customers for a mobile phone company, those who are going to buy my network connection, right? So I have a huge sample size and I'm going to understand. So if it is the again network provider, service provider, I'm going to understand so who are my prospective customers and accordingly I'm going to launch plans. So in between again, if you go on plans, there are different types of plans with data usage, with calls only, with SMS package and all that. So based on the users, I'm going to launch those plans. And also based on the users, it indicates their affordability as well. So the work group, the India worker population, that's what I'm coming here. Okay, there is a statistics that says that the working population, India worker population ratio, and it's a good figure that 50 percentage of the population is a working population, and they have a bandwidth of uh, age group falling under 18 to 55, those who are in work, and the entire other 50 percentage is relying upon this population. Actually, to be true, this percentage is very, very good. 1:1 ratio. So one is earning, one is dependent on the other. So that's a good ratio compared to any other country, maybe developed or developing country as well. Fine. So considering this, so again, this is the stats given. So proportion of working age population set to fall in 2036. So let's see what happens then. But otherwise, now we have a very good working population index, a working population ratio. So that is the data available. Imagine if I belong to a wedding industry. And for wedding industry again, I need to gather a data. So how many in this working age of population, if it is 18 to 55, that is not going to be the target age group for a wedding industry. So preferably from the age of 21 to 35, that is the age group they wanted, and they feel those are the prospective customers. So in that, I'm going to understand or I'm going to extract the data from the abundant data available based on the demographics, which is the population falling between in the category of 21 to 35 age group. So that is what business analytics, when an industry, a wedding industry, extract the data or extrapolate the data from the data available and putting it for their business usage, that is called business analytics. So assuming we have obviously in India, wedding industry itself is a very, very huge, rewarding as well as industry that is minting money like anything because we consider wedding ceremonies to be very, very auspicious and we celebrate that as a very grand function. So that is, it's again the total population we have, unmarried population. That is how from the entire population you are extracting data and concising that what is exactly required for your business. And total active seekers in our wedding industry is 100 million. So that's a huge number for this wedding industry. And total weddings, yes, 11 to 13 minimum per annum, 11 to 13 million per annum, it's happening. And when 11 to 13 millions per annum weddings are happening, so this industry is so very happy. Yes, exactly, Subrat. Demand for lavish weddings is very high in India. So we also wanted to quote or indicate the status quo, our background and all that through that ceremony. So some message we wanted to continue. And also at most that gives at most satisfaction for entire family and all that. The reason behind is plenty. But this is a wedding industry which is so very promising because it is when we call wedding industry, right from the marriage hall, right from the entertainment people, right from the decoration people, and right from the food, accommodation, not many allied industry are there. So that's why recently our Prime Minister also has left a message to the celebrities to have their weddings in India. So this is the reason behind it. Industry. The two cities and all comes with a hefty bundle of packages, right? So when it is done in India, a lot of other businesses will cherish. That's the ultimate intention. So arrange in that again. If it is again wedding industry, let's go on and do be specific to matrimony websites. So if that is also one of the business vertical which is getting benefited greatly by the Indian weddings, because arranged marriages are very still very popular in our country, and it is 80 percentage. So arranged marriages in India in 2014 was 80 percentage. See, this is not the exact figure. This is wobbling and this is greatly fluctuating. When in 80 percentage of arranged marriage that is happening, online matchmaking industry is the 6% of marriages. 6% of marriages across the country happens through online matrimony websites. So this is the data for these matrimony websites. Prospective audience, prospective customers, those who are waiting for marriages, and that too. Whenever I think for on this online matrimony websites, I really used to wonder how these businesses are making money, and not with much effort, because the data what you had to be fed is done by the customer. So unlike any other vertical, so wherein they have to sit, break their head down and feed the data of the customer, here everything is done by customer. They are managing the website and connecting people, and that too is done by or chosen by the customer itself. The platform is provided by these matrimony websites. What a business idea, and how much revenue they are minting, right? So beautiful one, and that's what any business is flourishing. It is very performing well, so that should be accepted and benchmarked by others as well. So this exactly is called as business analytics. Once that is done, so what next? Coming to the hospitals, now we have a lot of fertility issues and all that. So once marriage is over, then people start asking for the next thing. So any good news and all that. So then it goes on the fertility center. So we also can see earlier some 20, 30 years and all, back and all that, hardly we saw any fertility centers or hospitals taking care of such patients. So now that is also mushrooming because of the changes and the effect that is happening with the couples of India. So that again is a business vertical. So wherein with this data, with this $1 billion wedding industry, this is the database for this fertility centers. So from them, they are deriving and extracting data and extrapolating what is required for their business performance system. So this is how the data analytics data is available everywhere, and when it is extracted for your specific business vertical, that becomes business analytics. So matrimony websites leverage analytics performed on customer data to facilitate matchmaking while generating revenue through registration fees. Nowadays, they even offer marriage services. They offer everything, Subra, end to end. Whatever related to marriage you want, they offer everything under that. But the main is to connect pairs. Fine. So as allied services, they are giving many other services also. So multiple businesses are getting benefited. So what a beautiful business model, right? So not as a single-handed person, they only are not improving. Allied businesses are also improving. So that's how entire business plan is getting executed, and multiple stakeholders are benefited, as well as multiple businesses also are mushrooming, right? So good thought process, execution, right? So actually this figure has to come first. So this is the India worker population ratio, so which is the data available from there. Whatever is required for your business vertical, data is extracted, and here it is a wedding dollar, and you do business analytics. So as simple as that. So then what is business analytics? To put that in a nutshell, so it is, if it is a healthcare industry, obtaining the clinical information, the equipment required. So what is the ailment prevailing in that? So during pandemic, the best reference for the healthcare and pharma industry is going back to the pandemic times. So understanding what is the progress of the virus and a specific increase in virus. I can't put a positive word for that negative impact. It is not a progress, increase in the virus or the increase in the number of cases witnessed, so that you come back to the healthcare sector, make arrangements for your ICU beds, sanitizers, oxygen cylinders, whatnot. And also, if you just go back and recollect, so that was the time mask, sanitizers, never in my life I have used all those things earlier. So only after pandemic. So yes, all these were considered as hospital items and hospital equipments only. So then we, as in households also, we all started to use that. So understanding the requirement of these products and making their availability, business analytics, because earlier it was only one, or the hospitality sector or people in hospitals alone were using. Then it rapidly increased many fold, 100% increase, more than that, right? So then in that case, the demand also has to be calculated and production has to happen so very in corresponding to the increase in demand. The pandemic created surge in demand for sanitizers and masks. Exactly, Subrat. So before that, I have never used them. So now every household, and that too not one each. So we all had a habit of going with similar colors of masks with whatever attire we wear. Right? So that was the growth in that industry. Suddenly, all of a sudden, fine. So that is again business analytics used there. But even a casino uses the business analytics, right? From understanding the wealth of the users, their wealth of the customers, those who are coming in, playing the game. So how many Indian movies we have seen, right? So our hero goes and tracking the player, how frequently he is visiting, what is his wealth, what is his making them members, understanding when or how frequently it's going to visit the casino, business analytics. Even a restaurant, fast food restaurant does that. You ask them, they very clearly know that during weekends there is going to be more footfall, and so they have to plan their inventory level high. The menu list has to have more stock to be prepared and cater to the customer because during weekends you are going to have additional footfall. So you can't say I'm out of stock position and turn down your customer. Today's customer are the luckiest because they have multiple choices. So if not A, there is brand B. If not B, there is brand C. I have a lot of choices. So loser is not the customer but the business. Losing a customer is very, very costly than in retaining a customer. So businesses focus more on however they wanted to retain the customer. That's why they come with all jargon saying that customer is king, customer is always right, because nobody wanted to lose the customer. And customers also, today's customers are not at all brand loyals. So if you are going inside a shop, right, to buy something, maybe a book, or maybe a pen, a red color pen of specific gel and all that, any brand, and it is not available in the shop. So what would you do? And the shopkeeper says that tomorrow a stock is coming. You come tomorrow, I will get it for you. I will make it available. What would you do? Simple. We'll go to another shop. Exactly. Correct, Subrat. We'll go to another shop. It's not my father's shop to fetch business for him. Right? So no customer is worried to make business of for any specific brand or category. So for me, I want to quench my demand. So impulse buying. Today's customers are of impulse buying. So nowadays, this generation has gone up to the level of buying impulsively even a bike or a mobile smartphone. Nobody wanted to wait for a longer period of time. Business loses customers if supply chain is not sufficiently responsive. Exactly. Those are the things we are going to see as we progress. The supply chains need to be very responsive. Otherwise, so gone are those days if my favorite shopkeeper says that you come tomorrow, I will get the stock for you. So we also were not, because we feel that yes, yes, I have given a word, that I have given a promise, tomorrow I will come. Shops also believe that yes, this customer is going to come back to me only. That was the scenario then, not anymore. So when that is the case, keeping sufficient stock and making your supply chain responsive becomes very, very crucial. But then everything comes with a cost. And that's what we are going to discuss in the slides to come. So that's about the business analytics. Let's see how brands are doing this analytics in business world. So Amazon, you all know, very, very popular and familiar brand, just started as a bookseller with one vertical alone. And very soon they understood this is not going to work out. They went on to introduce millions of products. And yes, billions of customers are buying Amazon's product. So everything under one roof model, as the logo itself stays everything. And what do they do for this is product recommendation is based on collaborative filtering. So how do they do when you buy something right from pen to pistol? We all have a habit of buying something online, and at least once in our lifetime we have bought something on using these platforms, especially Amazon. So how do they do? Once you buy, your database is already there. When once you own a smartphone, nothing is private or personal. Everything is transparent only. So sometimes you talk for some time, and after that you watch, you just note or serve something on your mobile phone. You will get push notifications on the topic of your discussion. So voice recognition. So that is the level of smartphones and the technological development. And using collaborative filtering and understanding who are going to be their prospective customers, that's not a tough task for Amazon. So when it comes to a hotel industry, yes, they also do data analytics to understand how many customers are going to visit. So any international sport event is planned. Maybe Olympic is planned in India. So as I say, let's see, that hopes to happen at least in 2036. So considering that or planning for that, Marriott hotels will plan or will make the availability of hotel rooms. So simple, take for example, IPL is happening every year. So the whenever any IPL match happens, so nearby restaurants, nearby hotels understand that there is going to be a demand for them. And accordingly, they are going to plan the number of footfalls or walk-in and accordingly make things available. So ultimately, demand forecasting is why it is done to make yourself available to cater to the customer requirements so that you will make profits. So MACD, so from the time of the day to weather and the historical sales data, everything. So right, as I was saying you, telling you in the previous slide also, these restaurants businesses, they know. So maybe weekend or in the evening time, there is going to be more demand. And so you have to keep your inventory levels in tandem to your demand. So taking Starbucks also, yes. So how am I planning? They use the customer data. They use obviously, so they know the age group of the customers and they recommend or push based on their preferences. Cold coffee will be more preferred by youngsters and younger generation, and hot cafe latte or cappuccino may be preferred by anybody who's a little matured individual. So similarly, in um, sorry. So in response to that, Starbucks is going to plan their inventory levels as well, whether it is McD or KFC or Starbucks. So making the product available to cater to the customer's requirement is always the priority. And this is where they use the business analytics. Coming to supply chain analytics. So we have just understood or discussed about the basics or the fundamentals of analytics. So when we are clear with the business analytics, so let's move on to supply chain analytics. So from now onwards, everything is going to be having specific focus to supply chain. Yeah. Yeah, Subrat, we understand that the brands are using analytics to identify revenue generation opportunities, trying to derive the demand. However, how did their supply chain networks respond quickly to such dynamic outputs from such analytics models to leverage such opportunities? If I had to answer this question, Subrat, the entire content, whatever we have planned for the next 4 sessions, will be the answer. Okay, so because we are going to focus on that perspective only. So, Lord many, your supply chain has to be very efficient, very responsive, and efficiency will not always go with responsive. Because for efficiency, you will go with process optimization, but then with responsive, you will be going with the customer satisfaction. The focus of your supply chain itself will greatly differ, but ultimately, you have to keep your supply chain vibrant and vigil to cater to the customer requirements. Any dip or increase, any surge in demand or increase in demand, anything is being witnessed, and your supply chain has to be meet. What happened during pandemic for the semiconductors? We had huge crisis for semiconductors, and only then that was a period where we understood that 90 percentage of our semiconductor requirement were relied upon on the imports. So that was the huge jolt for us, even to understand that so much we were relying on a product which is invariably going into every OEM, right? Every electronic product, every automobile product, you require a semiconductor for which you were relying upon other countries. So that was the time we woke up. So there are instances with other brands and other verticals as well. So then that is why the supply chain is gaining lot of predominance and momentum. So earlier logistics or supply chain was considered to be a process, right? Then logistics was considered to be a delivery of goods alone, or shifting or movement of goods from one place to another only. So when we started to talk upon the demand fluctuations, agility, and impulse buying behavior of the customers, and lot of competitors flying into the field, so then we understood the value of this entire supply chain process on the whole. That's why in our country, so 4 to 5 years back, we got infrastructure status for this logistics sector. So all these are signs that is indicating this sector itself is predominantly growing and fetching more opportunities for others as well. So this is what we are going to deal in the slides as well as session to come itself. Subrat, you will understand how organizations are quickly are instead of are they need to, how organizations need to quickly adapt to the changing scenarios or changing preferences in the customer, and how each vertical or each business is doing that is what we are going to see. Okay, so if entire content for one question. Okay, yes. So let's talk about supply chain more. So where analytics will be used more in supply chain is to optimize the distribution networks. So what are my distribution networks? So for that, I need to go with my product first. What is my product? Mobile phone. What should be the distribution network then? Who are my buyers? Almost entire population is my buyer. So I had to go with my indirect distribution where I go with the retailer setup, selling online, wholesaler. So Apple iPhone, they have their own stores. They are available with any other retailer like the digital, Reliance Digital, Kruma and all that. And they are available online through Amazon and Flipkart type of platforms as well. So based on the network, based on the product, I'm going to design my network. So that's where optimizing the distribution networks plays a vital role. Whatever said and done, lead time minimization. The time taken from the customer order to the delivery of the product to the customer. And here the lead time can be broken up: manufacturer lead time, supplier lead time, procurement lead time. So everywhere you can have breakups. But still, ultimately, your organization's goal is to minimize the lead time so that your customer product is delivered quickly and not much of waiting time. Waiting time always has a threat of losing a customer. So recently, we also went to book a Mahindra XUV 700, and then understood the waiting time is more than 1 year. So we had to switch over to another brand. So this is happening in high valued product itself. So imagine for a low value product like toothpaste or toothbrush, you go and ask a specific brand, they say it's not available. You just switch over instead of Colgate. If it's not available, you switch over to Pepsodent and you buy and keep going. So that business loss happens. So every business's ultimate goal is to minimize the lead time and obviously reduce the operational cost where I'm incurring cost and where I'm incurring additional cost. Always optimization of cost takes a priority for any businesses. So ultimately, less cost, more revenues, more profits. Who will not like? But then for there again, I need to relate and take a lot of business decisions accordingly. That also we'll see as we proceed. So on the other hand, if we maintain high inventory to avoid inventory shortfall, it can drive up cost. Exactly. That's what we are going to see in tomorrow's session. Not tomorrow, session 2, inventory optimization. And for that, how classification of inventory is very, very crucial, right? Are you from supply chain background, Subrat? Because having higher inventory is going to increase your storage cost. Having
Yes.
lesser inventory, you will end up a stock out position and you will end up losing the customer. So it's a trade-off between having high inventory and losing a customer. Whichever is beneficial for you, you need to think and act accordingly. So very, very tough, very challenging decision making, right? Then forecasting inventory levels. So to assign the inventory levels only, we go for the forecasting function. If there is going to be an increase in demand forecasted, so obviously you will have more inventory. So decrease in demand, if there is a seasonal demand, fluctuation in demand, you would prefer to have lesser inventory. Just in time, yes, possible, but then always it may not work out. And that too, for every length of business, it is not going to work out for. Maybe for Toyota as a brand, it has worked out that too way back. So let's discuss a lot of other aspects associated as well. But then this is the supply chain analytics. So supply chain analytics focus area we saw. But what is supply chain? So as I told you, network of all the activities, which includes your supplier to your customer. And you have a lot, much of range of stakeholders involved in between. You have the manufacturer, you have the supplier, even before that upstream supply chain partner, you have a distributor, retailer, customer, everyone who's located, and connecting each and every individual with the proper network and communication and information is very, very vital for your supply chain to be vibrant. And what you do in the supply chain as a function is you source, that is, you procure the raw material, you plan. So everything, basically, planning goes without any saying for any organizational function. So planning forms a base. So once you plan that, you source. Because in planning itself, you will forecast and understand how much are you going to produce, how much is required to be procured. Then you go in for source. Sourcing is, yes, procuring raw materials. You make it, in making, that is production, you will know how much to produce, how much, what is the periodicity of production. So again, same you can relate to your kitchen activity as well. Then there's moving to the delivering to the customer, taking it, transit, logistics leg, and then selling it to the customers, making it available with the retailer touch points or selling touch points, and buying by the making it by the customer. So that is the functions, right? So let us understand that better with a small video, right? So I will show you a video. Hope my YouTube screen is visible for you.
Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Yeah.
Close to the oil. Take care, that's hot oil. Lift the cutter upwards like this. Gently squeeze the back to force batter out of the nozzle. Watch the batter take the shape of a vada. Slide the vada cutter down to drop the vada-shaped batter into the oil. Take care. Don't let the batter splash in the hot oil. Fry both sides till golden brown. Drain extra oil out and serve. If batter accumulates at the nozzle, wipe with a clean tissue or cloth before making the next vada. If air enters the pack, simply prick with a clean, sharp object. And you're done. You can even have your crispy hot vadas tested by a vada expert. Success! But of course, with new ID vada batter in a pack that shapes batter into vadas, everybody can vada.
Tempting, right? Right. Yeah, we'll go back to our slide and then I will tell you what we need to answer. So, what supply chain process does the ID Vada batter advertisement address? Is it plan, source, make, move, or sell? Which supply chain process does it address?
I think it will be make. Option C.
Option C, it is making how to make the ID Vada. Obviously, that was the focus of the ad. What other supply chain process that the new design support? So here it's specific to the design. What does the new design support?
I think it will be sell. Option D.
Sell? Are you saying about sell?
Yes, because it will help to drive the sales.
Okay, it will help, since it's easier to make more, many customers will buy, and your focus is on sell.
Yes, yes.
Right. So, yeah, agreed. Yes, but not only sell. It's not only restricting to sell, it is covering all the other supply chain process as well. So, because if you focus on the advertisement, the product is to make the ID vada. Sorry, not ID vada, to make the vada. For that, they are helping with the batter as well as the mold. So here, two supply chains will be there because one has to be planned for the production of the mold, and the other one is for the batter. And surprisingly, so two distinct supply chains because the mold can be prepared and produced and kept, maybe procured also if you are outsourcing it. It can be procured or produced and kept in bulk. But then when it comes to the batter which you are stuffing inside, so that has a very, very short shelf life. Your supply chain, the process of the supply chain has to be very, very agile when it comes to this batter. Not so in the case of this mold. So where you can go in for bulk procurement also from your suppliers, which is going to be beneficial for you. So right from the sourcing activity, how much to source differs greatly between a mold of this vada batter and then the actual vada batter also. And obviously making the address here in the advertisement itself. Then moving it, then how much once you procure the mold in bulk, you can go for a bigger lot size. But when you're moving it to the point of sales for the customers, it has to be measured because the batter that goes inside has a shelf life. So you cannot move as you procure in bulk when it goes to the customers. So maybe thousands and so thousands of batter along with mold which is ready to be sold cannot be moved. Then you need to have a restriction since there is a shelf life for that. So you need to be very careful in designing the supply chain activities or even the processes for the finished product. Raw material is one, the work in progress happens, then the finished products. And since there are two distinct supply chains, you have to be even more careful when executing this process and making the product available to the customer, right? This is applicable for any other product as well. You take Coca-Cola. So you have a bottling unit and you have to stuff the cool drink inside the bottle as well. And any other dairy product, similarly, the same thing happens. Cookies, chocolates. So for them too, so packaging actually for cookies and chocolates, once it is baked or cooked, and the packaging happens as an inherent function and goes on. So similar is going to be the requirement or planning for this ID Vada batter as well. So once this is just for you to understand supply chain better. So moving on to the analytics part again. So why it is very important is to take smarter, quicker, and more efficient decisions. That is going to be increase in number of customers buying ID Vada batter. If this statement sounds good or there is going to be 5% increase in the number of customers, those who are going to buy the ID Vada batter. Does this sounds very, very clean and clear? Second one, right? So number is always better. That gives lot of clarity. That gives a precedence for us, the direction for us to progress, the precedence for us to, if or else if I say there is going to be 5% difference in the number of customer base for ID Vada Batter. See here, I'm attaching a number tag, but this is more unclear now. So this distorting for me. 5% difference is what? The difference can be increase or decrease in the customer base. So there again, attaching number is a very, very valid type of making a statement. But then how exactly, how you are attaching logics for your metrics matters a lot. Even with metrics, it is not complete, but there you have to convey it very clearly to make it a sensible statement, and further that leads to a planning and decision making. So that is what this analytics does, and wherein all this analytics is going to help us out is in inventory management to understand what is going to be the stock level. So overstocking, understocking, both are extreme scenarios which are not good for the organization. What is the optimum inventory I need to manage? Warehousing, what is right from the space, right from the location, right from the products which are stored in the warehousing, movement of goods, first in, first out, last in, first out. All these analytics is going to help me out in warehousing function. Logistics, we need not to discuss at all. We not to highlight at all, because that is one of the crucial activity which ends the entire supply chain operations, whether it is a last mile delivery or it is the delivery to the retail selling point, whatever it is, without logistics, the entire supply chain activity will not come to an end. And there again in logistics, what is the size of the truck, number of fleet of the truck, and carrying capacity of the truck, everywhere metrics is being assigned. So planning is the base for anything. Application is what technology is supporting to make all these numerical business decisions. So without technology, it may be a simple calculator or it may be an algorithm developed by artificial intelligence, but technology gives its own support in executing the planning activity. So this is the manufacturing activity. This is related and connected to any decision you are taking. So accordingly, you need to, in summer, so we are going to produce more number of cold items, or else maybe caps, maybe goggles, so whichever required more in number. And when in seasonality, when seasonality patterns are attached, I am saying that. So there are other items like essentials, milk, bread, so any other essential food items, so which has no seasonality at all. So throughout the year, how much ever hot it is, how much ever cold it is, we are going to consume those items. So there again, planning goes, and a lot of could you please explain the second point? Which one? Second point is which one? The warehousing, Subrat. What do we mean by understanding risks, spots, pattern? Okay, here. Okay, fine, fine. I've not got into that. Fine. So smarter, quicker, and more efficient decisions are taken using this analytics to reduce cost and improve margins. Real-time visibility is created. Better understand risks. That is spots, patterns. Spot. It is not spots. Okay. So typo. Spot patterns. It is spot patterns and trends. Okay. So you want to understand the risk associated. See, firstly, when you are into any business, you will also understand, or you will have equal, you will be wary of equal risks also associated with your business. So maybe if you are going with a maybe turf, so you wanted to, you are building a turf for those who wanted to play football during the weekends. And you equally know here that during the weekdays or day timings and all that, there is not going to be much utility for your turf. So there won't be many players on your turf. So this is the risk associated. So you are ready to forgo, or you are ready to face the idle time of your business. And you equally understand that if this is the business, that comes with the associated factors. So those are the risks. And one more aspect I can say on the risk is based on the product availability. And risk starts even from the change in customer buying behavior, right? So any change in customers buying behavior, obviously you are going to they are going to switch over to brand, and there you are associated with risk. And right from the sourcing partner, you are a manufacturer, and a tire manufacturer is your tier one supplier, and there is a rubber manufacturer strike that is going on in that industry. So your tire manufacturer will be affected, and so are you as an OEM. So the car manufacturer also will be equally affected if there is a strike going on with either a trucker or with a rubber manufacturer. So this is how the risk is associated with your business everywhere. So you have to have a close vigilant watch with the risk available, and you have to take alternative course of action. So spot the patterns and trends. When you will understand the pattern and trend, when there is a change in behavior, when there is a wavy pattern. So any new product is introduced, any new garment design is introduced. So what is the threat there? There is a threat that your old garments are going to go out of fashion or sale. So you need to accordingly lower down your inventory. So any this is more prominent when your industry is more relying upon a technology. Pager, if you remember, now it is no more into existence. So even the music systems, how many of us buy individual cameras or what alarm clocks or music systems, everything in one device, right? So it helps integrating developments in external environment to demand planning. Exactly. Your demand planning has to have 360-degree focus. You do not know if any, do you think any, what do you call, camera industry might have thought this mobile phone industry as a threat or a competitor, but it has happened, right? So what not? We all have a habit of stop wearing watches also to some extent because everything is available in one device. So what not is there in one device, and many field has been even shut down sometimes because of the risk posed by the mobile phone. So that's where you need to understand the risk. And there always used to be a debate with my counterparts also that there's online platforms and businesses have come and totally ruined the kirana stores and other individual units in business. Cannot be avoided. To some extent, it may be true, but it cannot be avoided at all because change only is permanent. Digital transactions. 10 years before, we never might have thought that we would be doing digital transactions. Exactly. Downfall of Kodak due to digital cameras is a good case study. Exactly. That's what is happening. But change only is permanent. What we need to do, we have to switch over. So when people say that all these kirana stores have been shut down, but all these kirana stores or any other seller earlier when they were independent sellers, now all these have become sellers for Amazon or Flipkart or any other online player. That's how businesses are changing their face. Not that completely they are washed out. So they need to find out alternatives for the survival. So different trends and different changes and different techniques. So otherwise, see, we are the ones those who are demanding changes, right? So when as a business, so we sit on the other side of the table also, right? But when as a service provider or a business provider, when you are not able to withstand the changing trend, then as a customer also we should stop demanding. That will never happen. Okay. So you have to adapt to the change. You have to quickly transform to another role or take up a new role so that you can keep with the competition. So this is where risk is associated everywhere. So how we understand that quickly, pandemic, every industry came to a standstill. One case study related to pandemic was Amul's case study. Maybe I think in next session I have the case study for you. How beautifully they faced pandemic. Initially, the turbulence was there initially for each and everyone because all of us as individuals also. I have personally never seen any lockdown in all these years. So that was completely new for each and every one of us. So for us as a common man, if it's new, so is the case with businesses also, right? So Overnight things were not changing. For months together, even for years, that was happening. And how businesses were able to perceive that and bounce back quickly, that matters a lot. If we had to blame pandemic as a risk, we have to keep blaming and sit without anything forever. But then how understand risk so that you will fight it out very quickly and come out bravely. So likewise, other aspects also increase accuracy in planning. So as I was telling you, increase in 5% market share or increase in market share, which is giving you direction. So the metrics will give you. So you will plan the increase in inventory requirement also accordingly. So when you understand there is going to be increase in market share, 5% increase in market share, so you will increase your inventory levels as well. So that's why forecasting plays a major role. Achieve the lean supply chain. All these are there on one side. Wanted to understand the growth. Demand planning is there. Forecasting. I wanted to make very good profits, revenues, and all that. But ultimately, I also have an agenda. I wanted my supply chain to be lean, so having focus on agility, waste reduction, error minimization. So mm, invariably, so it may not be intangible, but all these aspects are increasing efficiency in these areas also are going to contribute in total to my profit margin. So my lean methods, minimizing wastages, minimizing errors, maximizing agility, all these are also going to contribute to my betterment in the business or results in the business. Always prepare for future on time alert. So on time, so timely when there is a season for fruits, mango, so you have to sell it. What is the point when you wanted to sell mangoes when there is no season for it? So on time alerts and quick response to the scenario matters a lot. Otherwise, it goes and all your efforts will go in vain. So when we want to move ahead, you want to understand, we had to understand the types of supply chain analytics. Basically, so here we are relating the concepts. Uh, Basically, there are four types of supply chain analytics: descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive analytics. Your descriptive analytics will tell you what has happened in the past. What happened, whether my brand has fallen down, my sales of my items has fallen down. What has happened, it will tell. When you introspect, you will understand what has happened. Your diagnostic analytics will tell you why it has happened. So if you feel that your market share has fallen, so you will not stop with that. You will try to introspect and understand why my market share has fallen. So whether am I supplying inferior quality or my customers dissatisfied, or are there any other competitor brand which is coming and ruling the market? So why this has happened, I will try to understand. When I do that, that is a diagnostic, or we call that as a root cause analysis. Then once that is done, you will go for predictive analytics. Predictive, so from the name itself, you understand it's forecasting. What might happen in future? So if I'm going to continue with the same trend, what might happen in future? More competitors, very poor quality product of mine. So if I'm introducing a new garment, Anandi brands and all that. So I'm not able to withstand in the market. Why? The reason is inferior quality, not correct pricing, right, or my not correct positioning to the right group of customers. So if this is going to happen going forward, so I will ruin my business may come to a shutdown. So that is forecasting. Or else if I'm going to do any alternatives, if I'm going to introduce new varieties, new brands, which is the talk of which is the more preferred style of the customer with reasonable pricing, then my market share will increase. So that is predictive analytics. Then prescriptive analytics. What should be done next? So if I had to do to that level, go to that level and achieve best success or increase in market share, what should be done? Prescription, like a doctor's prescription. So these are the steps I have to follow, or these are the measures I have to take to reach that level, tells your prescriptive analytics. Yes, all these analytics are beautifully done by Tata Motors. We'll quickly see this very after this, I'll give you a short break, okay? So a very beautiful case study on Tata Motors and how they have come up to today's level using all these analytics, right? Tata Motors recorded highest sales of 3.7 lakhs unit, which is a 67 increase from the last fiscal. So great increase. They were a struggling company for the past 15 long years. And if you see their market share, see, lowest in 2016, 4.6 percentage market share in financial year 2016. And from that, see how they have bounced back. And Tata, Sumo, Safari, Indica, all the models failed. Failed in the sense, literally, they didn't fail as a model, but then all of them were perceived to be a commercial brand or as a brand which will be operated only as a cab. None of us were personally preferring to have or own a Tata's brand when they were focusing only on Sumo or Safari or Indica type of car. Nobody, some 10 years back, nobody would have been a proud owner saying that I own an Indica car. So all the models in the end user or customer segment literally failed to be positioned as an individual stock. And December 18 quarter losses stood at 26,961 crores, highest quarterly loss. So Tata also acquired Jaguar during its resurgence as a brand. Exactly. Synergy happened there. Going with a very, very premium brand. Right? Correct. But in 6 years, double their market share to 12.4 percentage in financial year 2022. A great leap forward. So double in just 6 years, doubling the market share is, if you can ask any person belonging to that industry, it's a great growth. And that too, when you focus on the EV segment, they hold around 80 percentage of the market share in the EV space in India. Every next or maybe uh, two and three cars or EV vehicle, I'm saying, is an Exxon or even of late I saw a Tiago also. So they are venturing EV vehicles in every variant of that. So 80 percentage made more money per car than giant Maruti for the first time in the decade. All these were outcomes. How they were able to do this, or how they have risen to this level. How did supply chain management play a role in this resurgence of Tata Cars business? I'm coming to that because here it is not the supply chain management we are discussing. We are discussing the analytics, how supply chain analytics was used by Tata Motors to come up to this level. So these are the outcomes. What did they do? This will answer your query, Subrat. A beautiful strategy formulated by Tata Motors. What was that? Genius strategy. Fewer parts for company to manage. So they introduced the platform strategy. If you just go back and recollect the models of Tata car, entry level hatchback like Tigor, Tiago, Tata Punch, all these have common parts. So that is what they call as a platform strategy, like axle, suspension, steering column, pedal box, engine mounting, floor pan. All these are the same items produced or goes inside all their entry level hatchbacks like Tigor, Tiago, Punch, and all that. So what happens? What's the advantage of this platform strategy is you can procure in bulk. When you go for procurement in bulk, you are eligible for a major discount. A lot of cost savings happen. So if fewer design changes for new models, platform costs can be minimized. So you have few suppliers and you are having a luxury or liberty to buy in bulk from few suppliers, and supplier is also benefited. So he is also giving you bulk discounts. And how you are benefited is, since this is a platform strategy and there are more number of common parts used in many of the variants, even if one variant is not going well, if Tigor is not performing well, anyway, you have procured the common parts in bulk. The same common parts can be utilized for Tiago or Punch, so which is selling well. So you are not going to incur loss at all by this platform strategy. And that's what Tata Motors focused upon. Increase in sales, positioning, marketing, that was happening one side. So in the supply chain front, where we can focus upon is always on optimizing the resources, because resources are always scarce. Whether it is a natural resources or capital resources or human resources. you are always restricted to do something with the available resources only. So when it comes to supply chain aspects, where you can, how you can optimize resources is by saving them majorly or planning them very well. So that's what they did with the platform strategy. So more volumes per tool, that is implementation time also reduced by one third. Imagine for each and every variant of car, they had to go with a separate axle, suspension, separate design also. Then how many orders they have to make, how many suppliers they have to find out, and how many inventory they need to hold, because each and every category of these spare parts need to have certain level of safety stock and need to have a certain level of inventory. But when you're going for bulk buying, bulk procurement, and the same part is used for many product variants, then the inventory levels also invariably comes down. You can go and fix up 5% of inventory or 5% of safety stock for all the products put together. If you're going with single variant for each and every category, you need to go and fix up 5%, which is more, right? And less wastage. Less wastage, so less suppliers, so less defects, and so warranty cost. Suppliers happy. So suppliers were very carefully selected. So very few suppliers they had. Those who were able to understand the quality requirement and other expectations of Tata Motors. So the warranty cost also fell from 1.14 to 0.9 between 2016 and 21. So basically, they started using standardized parts for different models instead of unique parts for each model, which helped in savings while purchasing parts and better utilization of the inventory. This drove the profits they made per car. Exactly. That's the point, Shubhra. So you have exactly understood. So common parts are more, unique parts were very, very less. Even in these cars, Tiago or Punch or Tigor, the common parts that goes inside are the same, only the outer look, the design, and maybe certain infotainment facilities, and overall. So only the outlook was a little different compared to the other cars. But then the spares and components that were going inside the car were all standardized and common parts only. Greatly, they were able to minimize the expenses. So more profits, that is 45,810 operating profit per car, which was double than Maruti's profit per car. So who's a market leader? So what did they do exactly is descriptive. Descriptive analytics they did? Sorry, to understand what had happened. That is, excuse me. They had older models, older styles, and increasing operating costs. They understood that with the descriptive analytics. Why did that happen? That also they understood with diagnostic analytics. There was a fierce competition. New brands and models, everyone were flooding the market. And if you just go back 2019 September, again Kia, MG, all these new brands also launched. And over and above this, that BS6 standards, so all was the fuel transition. Everything was flooding the market, and they clearly understood this is the reason behind why there is a sorry falling sales for Tata Motors. Then they went in for predictive analytics. If they are going to continue in the same way, they are going to increase the quarterly losses, and market share is also going to go down if they are just going to continue with their existing strategy. Really sorry. I'll just take a 5 minutes break. Really sorry. I don't know, suddenly. Just pardon me, Subra. Yeah, we shall continue. So for Tata Motors, this they understood what happened through descriptive analytics and then diagnostic analytics. They came to know why it had happened as well. Yeah, and predictive. So if that is going to continue, what could happen? High quarterly losses, falling market shares. Never one wanted to have that, and being Tata, a prestigious brand, and that's what you said, right, Subrat? They went and joined hands with Jaguar and all that premium brands. So creating, wanted to create synergies and prescriptive. Yes, what should be done? So this is what they did, minimizing operating expenses through the platform strategy, that is sharing of common parts and minimizing unique parts, and also a presence in their EV vertical. So this is where they went in for forward thinking. They wanted to focus on the EV vertical when other brands were still planning on how they need to modify their assembly lines and all that, go in for capacity expansion, uh, facility utilization, and all that. Tata Motors had the advantage of having or converting the existing assembly lines of the products or styles which they have closed down. And quickly they modified that, converted that into a EV vehicle. They were not waiting for automation. So most when they started to go with their EV vertical, maximum they went in for manual assembly. Because for automation again it is going to be time consuming, but by then they wanted to captivate the empty space in the EV vehicle, EV market, sorry, EV vertical, and that's what they did. An advantage for Tata like brand, because they are a conglomerate. They had TCS, those who were providing technology support, and Tata Powers, who were supporting with 300 charging stations in just 12 weeks. Obviously, so being a conglomerate comes with all these add-on advantage, but one has to rightly utilize the facilities available, and that's what Tata Motors did. And what has happened after that is the history. I need not to say. So now every other fifth car, every fifth car or fourth car is Tata's car now. So we also see a lot of different variants. And not only that, so they didn't stop with the just doing the supply chain analytics and with the common parts and platform strategy alone. They went way forward, one in the EV vertical. The other one is their focus towards their safety aspects. So if you saw Altroz, Nexon and all were very greatly positioned to have a five-star rating for their crash test, which many of our Indian brand cars were not focusing upon. So, taking for example their market leader, Maruti, if you go and see or check with some of their models, Swift and all goes hardly secure any star ratings for the crash test. So that also, but with the German cars, we never had those problems. So if you had to position your Indian brand of product with any prestigious brand like German cars and all that, so that aspect also was to be focused by the brand and which Tata did. So every variant or every car came out with the five-star or four-star rating at the most. So that was again, then pandemic was happening. Then every person, every common man became very, very health conscious, and that was safety and crash test ratings also was adding on to that. So that was the time each and every one of us were started to focus on not only the mileage aspect of a car, but also the safety aspect of the car. Okay, that also added advantage for Tata's performance, and now is how they are. We all know. So that is the supply chain analytics perspective. Using all these analytics, Tata Motors planned well, executed well, and they showed us the result as well. So if we see the goals for analytics in supply chain, for optimization, it is whenever you keep the supply chain goal for any organization, they have, most of them wanted to optimize their supply chain. 88% of the supply chains focuses on optimization, and again 88% supply chains focuses on cost reduction as well, improving customer satisfaction would be the next goal, and mitigating and reducing the risk and improving productivity. See, there is no hard and fast rule that these only should be the supply chain goals for any organization. On the whole, if anybody, any brand is focusing on enhancing their supply chain goals, these are the priorities. So there are other supply chain goals as well. Fine. So quickly, we are moving to understand the supply chain drivers. So if I want to enhance my supply chain operations, I obviously need to concentrate or focus on these drivers of my supply chain. Production, obviously, without production, nothing is going to go or roll out. What should be produced? How much should be produced and when to produce? What is the product? Car. If it is a car, how much to produce? I should know the demand in the market and when to produce. Obviously, so if I'm rich in capital and if the demand is there, I can go in for production. So once that driver is addressed, then how much to make, how much to stock. So this answer will this question will be answered if I address these aspects: what, how, and when to produce. So when how much to produce, I will know how much to stock. So auto, there is no seasonal demand for automobiles, unlike any other seasonal products. So, but then too, it becomes very crucial for me to understand when the sales are more, when the sales are less. Usually during the year end, the brands used to push the that year's model. So in December, they announce lot of offers, lot of sales. Maybe the quarter ending with October, November, December, because that also is the period where we have lot of festivals. And we all have a habit of buying something new during the festival period, since we consider that as auspicious, right? So that is an indication. So though car is in demand throughout the year, there are slight fluctuations in the buying period, like during March and all year ending, financial year ending, we all refrain from buying something or anything new, either as individual or as businesses. So there you have to address the inventory requirements. Then above all these things, location. Where best to do what activity? Where are the location of plants at a completely different scenario, because there your priority is going to be the availability of space, availability of labor, other resources, whether your support, whether the infrastructure is good, is conducive for export and import. Why Chennai, Pune are considered to be major manufacturing hubs? There are many regions also. Since I just got immediately those two places in my tongue. So these have very good multimodal connectivity, very good infrastructure, space availability, and if you are going to produce more and you are going to export, for that also, that's what I said, multimodal infrastructure. So this is what you have to check upon. What is that? Is it a production facility for that, where the labors are available, where the resources are available? If it is the retailer, then which location? Starbucks, if they wanted to open a new outlet, they are not going to check whether import export facilities are trade facilities are available or conducive. They are going to look on where are my uh, customers, prospective customers. I'm going to go closer to them, make them available, come and have a coffee at my cafe. So location plays a vital role, and transportation. So as I told you, without this, my supply chain functions are not going to end. So how and when to move the product? So transportation function for a manufacturer being a 3PL is different. And transportation function for an e-commerce service provider with a last mile delivery is completely different. Because there, if you're going to sell your product, so maybe a oven, microwave oven, sell a, you're going to sell a product to 300 customers through a retail space, you are going to invite or pull all the 300 customers to a Chroma or a Reliance Digital selling point. But when it comes to the same microwave oven being sold in an e-commerce website, Amazon or Flipkart, there you are going to make 300 deliveries individually. So your transportation cost drastically differs with these two modus operandi, though the product sold is the same, the customer is also the same. So there your distribution strategy and the transportation, what you work out, and the cost you incur towards transportation plays a vital role, and there is a huge difference. So that also we'll see. Last session is going to be on transport or logistics analytics. So how and when to move a product to which place. Everything for all these drivers to perform well, the fulcrum or the crux of the connectivity is your information. Your information infrastructure has to be very, very superior. And thanks to the technology. So we have otherwise earlier and all that any change in customer buying behavior, the manufacturer to even understand that that change is happening, it may take weeks and months together. By then he might have already overproduced and he will not know how to sell it, so it will end up in discounted sale or throwaway price. Fine. But now it is not like that, where you're you're integrating all the stakeholders into your supply chain itself. We call that as vendor managed inventory. The inventory level, when there is a change in demand in the market, how much inventory you have to hold, or when a point, a reorder point, the next order has to be triggered to your supplier, is automatically being indicated as an alarm, like what we have reminder in our calendar, right? So similarly, it is going as a reminder even to your vendor. Vendor too is managing the inventory, and that's the power of this information. And this has to be very, very agile, very powerful to make all the other process happen without any disturbances. These are supply chain drivers. So, having discussed sufficiently on the analytics perspective, what are the supply chain analytics and how crucial are analytics to make any business function appropriately, then we are moving on to the basic function of supply chain, that is forecasting. So, we saw about plan, source, make, and deliver, right? The plan itself, we should have this forecasting results in hand. So fundamental function as far as the supply chain operations are concerned. So let's understand more about forecasting and the different types of forecasting. So today we are going to focus on the qualitative aspect of forecasting, and when in business scenarios, which type of forecasting has to be made or used. We have all businesses, but there are businesses which are new, which are already existing, and which are existing going to enter into new markets, or which are existing as a brand going to launch a new product, right? So, but which are existing wanted to understand what is going to be the next year's sales or next month's sales so that they want to come back and produce. Everywhere forecasting is done. But then there are different methods of forecasting to be done in different scenarios. Okay, that's what we are going to discuss in today's session as well as next session. But before that, let's understand forecasting well. A weatherman says that he can predict weather in an hour, assuming that he knows the weather in Delhi right now. And a dice gambler says that he can predict 7 or 11 in his next roll since he had had 4 sevens in a row. And a stock trader says that he can predict the position of Paytm stocks for next week, considering the market position of it in the past week. Who is correct? Or who is more correct? Nobody can be 100% right. Who is more correct, more closer to accuracy?
Stock trader.
Stock trader, as per you, Subra. Okay, let's see. A good weather forecaster is 80% of the time, because with all the sophisticated meteorological departments equipment, it is possible now. 80% of the time, a good forecaster is right because he has equipment to substantiate this decision. But a good stock trader is right. Just see, survey says this. I'm not saying this. Survey says this, that a good stock trader is right 52% of the time. Yeah, you can increase this if you have hands-on experience and closely following the stock movements in the stock market. But suddenly, one news from the RBI, what happened to Paytm stock position? How much of a powerful stock trader you are, even via Harshad Mehta. But then there are more of external factors which are influencing the stock prices, which is not in your control. So in such cases, there is a high chance that your forecasting may go wrong. So that's where you need to rely upon or be uh, confident on your forecasting, whether the forecasted results are in your hand or else the aspect which you are forecasting has more of external influential factors also, or else it is only production. If it is production, all are internal resources, right? From the material, equipment, whatever you wanted to increase capital also, yes, you can try and do it. But the stock position and all that, not only in your hand, but the market also influences its position. So that's where external influences plays a vital role. When such things happen, your forecasting will be, yes, it will be wobbling. More accuracy of forecasting is not possible, cannot be done. And a good dice player is right only 49 to 50. Unless and until he is a Shakuni, yes, it's not possible at all with the dice gambler because here it is more of luck than you external factors and internal factors. You leave everything. It's majority that is luck only rather than the strategic planning and all that. So he is correct very less percentage of the time only compared to the other two persons. So that is the level of forecasting. So keeping that in mind, let us understand further. So forecasting is the process making predictions based on the past and present data. What has happened in the past? How much was the demand? How much of the sales of your uh, what is that mosquito repellents or mobile phones or agarbatti product can be anything. What was the sales in the past? What is the present data? And with that, you are forecasting. Okay. So basically, it is a decision. Why do we forecast? To make decision on how much to produce, how much to procure, how much to ship. So to make all these decisions, we are forecasting. Okay. And also it's a planning tool. That's what I said. Planning tool to make the next moves. What should I do next? For that, the fundamental activity is forecasting. So it is all about making predictions. It gives us directions on future trends. Past and present data is being analyzed and put that into business usage. And not only that, if there I can witness an increase in demand. So that is an indication that I need to increase my production as well. Increasing production overnight, it's not going to happen. I need to allocate more budget, more capital. So I need to arrange for my capital for that. So that also, that planning also has to happen and timelines. In which time? What is the periodicity? What has happened in the past and what is in present? In the past, in which period the share has increased? So in Tata Motors case study also, we saw that in how many years or what is the periodicity of the increase in market share. So the timelines are very, very important. So given 6 7 hours to crack, all of us might have cracked UPSC examination or CAT examination also in flying colors, right? So timeline given 2 hours time, given 3 hours time. So how we are able to do that? So without deadlines or timelines, it is not logical or it's not useful to execute the plans or I want to develop in life. So when you want to do that, I want to progress in my career. So when you want to do that, always fixing timelines, right? So only with timelines, you can have a measurable outcome. You can take measurable steps, so is the outcome. So that's very important as far as the forecasting function also considered timelines for any business. So with that, yeah, every department goes in for forecasting, marketing, front runner department, so connecting department with the customer as well as marketing as well as sales, and the manufacturer or any other department. So they predict demand and future sales. At finance department, they go in for stock prices, for reinvestments. What is their performance? What is the additional capital investment required? What should be the budget allocation? What are the changes in budget, departmental wise budget? So they need forecasting. And IT share databases and information. So if you are a mobile phone manufacturer, so your marketing department says that there is now in today's newspaper, I saw the ad of iPhone 15 saying that that is going to be an eye catcher for you. You are very attracted towards that, this, and all that. So, marketing department has done its job. So, next is increase in so giving 17,000 offer for iPhone 15. So, that's so very catchy. So, you can expect increase in demand for the product. So increase in demand, then more production. Financial department has to plan budget allocation for more production. Then this databases and information. So who are going to be your prospective customers and who are going to buy the mobile phones? Maybe you are giving that bundled offer comes right. HDFC Bank, if you have a debit card of HDFC Bank or SBI Bank. So you can avail 5,000 rupees additional discount on an iPhone 15. If that is announced, so then all the customers, those who are having HDFC credit card or SBI credit cards, are your prospective customers. So from there again, you will understand what is going to be. Earlier, you take the past data among those prospective customers. What was the conversion rate? 1%, 2%. So that again is going to help you out. So this is where information gives you from the database available. So you can retrieve the data from convert the raw data, put it into business view, and understand logically this is going to be the percentage of conversion from the total population to my prospective customers. Then human resource. So when you do all the other forecasting, then human resource department will forecast when there is an increase in demand. They also go in for future hiring requirements. So recently, I saw a Cisco article saying that they are going to lay off thousands of employees because they wanted to minimize their operating expenses. So this also is an indication. So they forecast that the operating expenses are going up like anything, and they wanted to curtail. So for which they are taking an action of downsizing the workforce. Okay. And so, if you are moving on to a new platform, new technology, so there you may go in for upskilling. You may require skilled human resources. That also is an indication for human resource department to additionally hire manpower. So, forecasting happens across the organization. Once we understood that this function is very, very crucial, and without demand planning, nothing is going to happen productive in my business. So I need to understand the three logics and principles of forecasting also. Forecasting are seldom perfect, or you can put it as rarely perfect. Forecasts are never accurate. So even with the most sophisticated forecasting tool, if you forecast and if you think if the forecasting results shows that so this month you have sold 100 units of products or 100 laptops. Next month, the same. So considering the previous pattern, you have predicted a 2% increase in sale. So 102 units you will sell next month. That is what your forecasting has told you. Will you sell 102 units exactly next year, next month? May not be possible. There are other lot of other factors which are influencing the sales. So it can be for 105 also, it can be 110 also, and it can be 95 units also which you are able to sell. So that is where your forecasting is rarely perfect. How it can be better or enhanced is when the error percentage is very, very less, you can presume that your forecasting method and tool is right. If you have forecasted 102 units of laptops to be sold with your all the tools and results, if you have sold 105 units, the margin of difference is very, very less. So for every industry, there are standards kept and based on the volume of items also. Any 1% deviation, 2% deviation with the forecasting figure is still negligible. So if the error percentage is more, 5%, 10% and all that, then Either your forecasting tool is not right, appropriately used, or else the field you have chosen or the database what you have chosen for forecasting is somewhat wrong. So that is where you have to go back and think upon the forecasting technique. Next principle is more accurate for group than individual items. Um, Louis Philippe, they are going and they are a very very famous men's apparel brand, and they wanted to forecast what is going to be the sales for next month. And when they do it for all their trousers, they wanted to forecast how much sales is going to happen for the trouser range of trousers or range of shirts in the next month. Possible, right? And the number you come out with also will be fine based on the past sales of Louis Philippe. But if Philippe wanted to forecast the sales of pink colored, Nehru colored, slim fit, triple XL size shirts, okay, the result will not be appropriate because the sales of such product or the data for such product itself will be very very thin. And for such individual items, when you are forecasting, the results may be highly distorting, and you may not have sufficient data also. So that's why they are more accurate for group of items than individual items on the whole, right? But there are instances where you have to go in for individual items like luxury cars, like properties, because the value of these items are very very high, and they are also very coming under the niche and majorly a customized category. In that case, you have to go with the individual items only. The volume of sales and the value of the product also has to be considered. So, is it possible to derive demand forecast for SKUs from forecasts for groups of SKUs? I'm asking this because inventory is maintained at SKU level. This is possible. If actually SKU from group of SKU, so this is what they do. But beyond that, the location and demand for the respective SKU in that location also matters. See, for example, for this particular question, consider Reliance Trends, right? They are located multiple branches. They are located in different cities as well. Take for example in Delhi. Delhi, maybe some. Let us keep. I don't know the exact number of Reliance Trends showrooms available in Delhi. Let us keep it as 25. If 25 Trend showrooms are available in Delhi, not all the trend showroom will be contributing or making equal sales, right? And some will be located inside a mall, and some will be in a posh locality where you will have more footfall, and some will be in a not so called posh locality where you may not have more sales or more footfalls. Okay, so here it is going to change. The demand forecast for individual SKU itself will change. But on the whole, if you wanted to procure products for all the outlets of Reliance Trends in Delhi and understand, you can do it. But still, when you are going or doing this exercise with independent SKU, you will come out with the accurate and appropriate figure. So otherwise, this would be so maybe if you are buying your supplier is there in Hyderabad, you are procuring a specific category of kurta for Reliance Trends from Hyderabad for all the Delhi SKUs, then you can do this. You can buy in bulk, maybe in a central warehouse or a hub. For that, you will buy. And when you are tagging or when you are sending it for individual SKU, then independently the SKU's demand has to be taken. Okay. So otherwise, this will not be giving you the right figure. And inventory also for individual SKU, you have to go with. That is why inventory is always allotted for SKUs, different SKUs in percentage level, not in numbers. Based on their performance, based on their sales, based on their demand, it is allocated in percentage. Because one unit may be selling 1,000, so one SKU may be selling 1,000 units and one may be selling 500 units. So going with 2% or 3% in inventory for each SKU will make logics. But it will not happen if you go with 100 and number or 200 and number. So, how do companies design their supply chain model? Because demand patterns will change constantly with time, and model will remain fixed. See, model may remain fixed, but the demand patterns will change. See, if you are going with a forecasting model for this the same Reliance trends also, the model is the same, but then the number is going to differ. If if I'm going with the same model saying that I'm going to go with 5% of inventory level based on the demand, right? The SKU selling or the branch selling 1,000 units, for them 5% is completely a different number, and outlet selling 500 as sales, for them 5% is entirely different number. Okay, so the demand patterns will change, and your design of obviously will be a same or a constant model. So the numbers are until and unless you are facing extreme differences in the scenarios, then you need to go and into. And this model is not working out with all the SKUs, and you are getting distorting results. Then you have to go with a model change. So otherwise, it is not required because the number what it is showing as the result is going to be different for me only, right? So that's how companies are planning for different SKUs, different stock levels, percentage. Go with percentage allocation, and that makes logics also. Model need not to be changed. Okay, I hope it's clear, Subrato. You hope you agree. Okay, and there are more accurate in short term than longer term. Obviously, when you wanted to understand the demand for the next week, it will be more accurate if you are taking the demand for this week and the previous 2 weeks. Or else if you want to understand the demand for your Louis Philippe range of trousers for next year Diwali, it is not going to work out for you, or it is not going to yield you better results, because in between many things may change. Your style may change, design may change, the supplier may change, or the customers seeking behavior also may change completely, preferences may change. So always keep the duration of the forecast short. And this duration varies from product to product. For FMCG product, which moves fast, right, which is required by every common man, for them keep the duration short, very short, like a day or a week, or maybe once in 2 3 days, or a fortnight maximum. Okay, because it is a fast moving category product. Maybe a luxury car, so the forecasting can be in a quarterly basis also, because so frequently you're not going to buy the product. And also once you're going to buy the product, the repeat purchase may take years together for you. Maybe once in a lifetime we buy a car, or not necessarily, on an average I'm saying, or house. Once in a lifetime you're going to buy a house. For such category of product, the duration of forecast can be long, a little bit long, like 1 year or every 6 months and all that. But any low value product, but which is sold in very high volumes, keep the duration of the forecast very, very small. Okay. So these are the basics. Just keep them in mind. And these are the steps involved in forecasting. What to forecast? What is that I wanted to forecast? Should I forecast the demand? Should I forecast the sales? Or should I forecast the change in price of the product? Or should I check what or how my competitor brand is performing all these years? What is that I should focus? Be clear on that. And then go with evaluation and analyzing the appropriate data. What is the data available? What was the historic state? What has happened in the past? So when we understand the types of qualitative forecasting, you will know this better. Select and test a model. Model testing is where I'm deciding on qualitative forecasting or quantitative forecasting. And under that, there are methods which model I'm going to use. Generate a forecast for forecasting activity and monitor the accuracy. Always see to that the forecasting errors, we call that errors, difference between actuals and standards. If the error is very thin, your forecasting technique is appropriate. If the margin of error is huge, then you have gone somewhere wrong and you need to alter the technique. So your supply and demand planning plays a very, very vital role. So that means you forecast here and you why only having the forecasting result in hand, you are going to come back and plan your production, procurement, and logistics. So your S&OP, we call this as S&OP, your sales and operations planning has to get balanced. Your demand side and your supply chain side needs to be properly understood very clearly. So it is demand side is downstream supply chain towards the customer, and supply side is upstream supply chain towards your suppliers. Both has to go hand on hand, because what you gather as information from the demand side has to be passed on to your supply chain, supply side, for every planning activity. So that is very important. So Kia has done this. How they have went on to actually, I'll come back to this Kia's case study once we understand the types of qualitative forecasting. Because here I'm going to say about the market research, which is there in the qualitative forecasting, and then we'll come back to the Kia case study. Okay, it's a small exhibit only, not a like a Tata Motors case study. Based on the time horizon, also you can do forecasting. But one rule, one basic principle of forecasting is said that the forecasting duration has to be always shorter. It will give better results than longer duration forecasting. Right. So keep that in mind. There are on time horizon, there are different types of forecasting: macro level, micro level, short term, and long term. When you do macro level forecasting, imagine you're doing it for the country as a whole. What is my GDP? So how the growth projections of an economy is being released, right? So based on their present and past performance, so we say that our economy or the GDP is growing at this rate. So how we have become a fifth largest economy, and how we are projected to grow or to go or achieve a $1 trillion economy in so and so year, so and so date. So that is forecasting. So doing in the macro level aspect for a country as a whole is called macro level forecasting. Micro level, you focus on your business. So in a developing economy, what as a manufacturing sector I'm going to grow, or if I belong to a logistics sector, what is going to be my growth potential? If I belong to a financial sector, so what is the growth potential and opportunity in that sector? So that is called as micro level forecasting. So companies, before they go in for FDIs, investing into any foreign markets, they do both the micro level as well as the macro level forecasting. Macro level to understand how the country is growing. Will that country be conducive for me to perform my operations? Okay. Then coming down, how that sector is doing, how EV sector is doing, how automobile sector is doing, how semiconductor manufacturing sector is doing. So that is micro level to that specific business segment. Then short term, keep the duration short. Anything lesser than 12 months, it's a short term forecasting. Anything lesser, more than 12 months, it's a long term forecasting. Long term forecasting also will be done by organizations when they go in for strategic planning. So 5 years down the line, I wanted to increase my market share by 50%. So for that, what should I do? I had to go for diversification. I had to go for plant expansion. I had to go for new location. So more capital investments. So long-term forecasting also is required based on these strategies. So the forecasting is always done with top-bottom approach from macro to sector-wise. No, not necessarily from macro. See, if I'm already running an existing business, like any you take any typical brand like right Voltas AC, right? So to some extent, I take inputs from the macro level forecasting, like what is the changing temperature levels, how global warming is happening, how the projections have been given on global warming by United Nations. So that I will take as inputs, but I need not to go and do the macro level forecasting initially. So I can directly go and check what was the sales of my Voltas temperature difference in year on year. That will be taken as a valid point to consider the increase in buying behavior, right? But I need not to do again macro level forecasting from the scratch. If I'm an AC seller, I can just go in for the short term forecasting, what has happened in the last 3 months, 6 months, and then I can plan for my production for the next month. If I wanted to increase my design, increase my market share on the whole, I go for long term forecasting, right? Macro level, actually, as an individual unit, many need not to invest more on that because country as a whole, there are newsletters, there are publications, there are big four companies doing this activity. Government on the whole will be doing macro level planning and activity. So inferences you have to take from the reports released. So that will, like, as I said, global warming and temperature change, increase in temperature. So now in today's newspaper, again, I was seeing how it is snowing in um, HP, yeah, Himachal Pradesh, right? And earlier in January, they used to get heavy snowfall, but in Feb, they are getting changing. Global warming is happening, change in climate condition, change in temperatures are happening. This will take, this will be taken as an input by maybe an AC manufacturer or maybe a heater manufacturer, whatsoever it is. And with that inputs, they will do a short term or a long term plan, right? Macro, micro, these two forecasting more are required for investment type of decisions. Short term, long term, these two types of forecasting will be required more for operations type of decision or execution type of decision. Okay. But then that was a nice question, Shukla. Okay. Steps and process already we saw. Yeah. Okay. Our delivery host has floated the feedback form. So after the session, so Subrat, I request you to finish off that feedback form on behalf of our host team. Okay, these are the process of forecasting, which we saw earlier itself in the step. Do the forecast, review the process, and periodically review the process and introduce the changes as well. In review itself, you will understand what's the difference between the actuals and standards. Actually, tomorrow, not tomorrow, in session 2, we will be doing a very interesting workout, Excel exercise, to understand what is the gap in forecasting and how going forward we have to use that method. So that is what we call as model testing. So that's a beautiful workout. So that will give us answer a lot of queries and give us a lot of um, vision for us to proceed in which direction. Okay, next session we'll see. Okay, so again, this is a small video which tells about Nestle's demand planning, but then I'm not going to show this because it's a 5-6 minute video. Please, I will paste this link in the chat box. Why? I didn't stop the screen sharing. So I would request you to, okay, listen to this video in your free time. Right. So how Nestle plans its demand planning. So as you were asking about the SKU and all that, so they practically you will understand how Nestle was planning their inventory at each SKU using technology and using communication infrastructure and all that. So that's a nice video. I would request to go listen, watch that video. So yes, coming to the types of, since we started 15 minutes late, so we will extend the session also 15 minutes. Hope you don't mind, right? So we'll have the session till 1:15, right? So we have basically two types of forecasting: qualitative as well as quantitative forecasting. Yeah, thanks, Subrat. Fine. I know you are hungry, but then immediately after the session, both of us will rush for our lunch. Then we have two qualitative and quantitative. So from the name itself, you can understand qualitative forecasting focuses on the prior experience, the knowledge of an expert. And when you go for this qualitative forecasting is when you are left with no data or very less data for analysis. When I'm introducing a new face cream, Ayurvedic face cream, um, into the market. So how will I understand the demand? So when mine is a new product, so I have not done any sales. So I had to go with qualitative forecasting. I have to use certain tools under qualitative ones to forecast the sales in the next month or next 2, 3 months, whatever it is. So there are certain methods. So whenever I'm new to the market, when the product is new, when the brand is new, and there is no historic data of sales or demand in the market, I go for qualitative forecasting. But on the other hand, I have everything. I'm an existing business. I can go in for quantitative. I'm not going to discuss more on quantitative now because for next session, it's completely quantitative. Okay. So let's focus on qualitative today. So under qualitative, we have four methods to forecast our sales or demand anything. Market research, all of you might have very frequently heard of this market research. So I do survey, I float questionnaires, I take feedback from my customers and I do market research whether this product is light or I even Starbucks does this. Whenever they wanted to add any new item into their menu, they test this with their test the dish with their existing customers. So do market research and understand. Then panel consensus, historical analogy, and Delphi method. So these are the four qualitative forecasting techniques. This is also called as the judgmental method. So based on your judgment. So since you feel that usually we do right when an IPL is happening, any cricket match is happening. With all our previous experience and with all the previous performances of the teams, we become judgmental, saying that yes, this team is going to win. But most of the times it will be biased because we go on with our favorite team and all that. So how do companies integrate qualitative forecasting output with quantitative forecasting models? So going forward, what happens, Subrat? Qualitative forecasting is not going to last for a longer time. So it is easy to integrate at personal level, but with so many SKUs, how do they do it? That is what I'm saying. This qualitative forecasting is very, very short lived. Only for maybe at the most for 1 month you will do this, but for the next month already you have 1 month's data in hand. You can quickly switch over to quantitative forecasting so that you will have concrete or measurable values in your hand with which you can act upon. And this, since this periodicity is very, very short, for you to overcome that and address the issues also is very, very easy. So that's not a botheration at all. Qualitative, just initially, since there is a paucity of data, you are going for that. It is not going to last forever, where immediately quantitative will come for replacement. Right? So they will do this immediately. Even for SKU, so when it's a new SKU, first they take precedence from other SKUs. That's what I'm going to discuss in this types of qualitative analytics. Okay. So when we talk about this historical analogy, your question will be answered obviously. See, let's see market research first. Using interviews, surveys. Okay. Okay. This is the first qualitative forecasting technique, market research. Colgate wanted to launch a new paste on salt and brick, right? Going back to the olden days. So they will, though Colgate is an existing product, as a product they are existing, but this new vertical or new variant is new. So they do market research. How again, this is where I wanted to go and take you back to the Kia case study, right? Market research, as I told you. Kia, they launched into India in 2017. And how quickly they have come up to this level seventh position they have secured in passenger sales. What did they do? I'm just skipping those points which are self-explanatory. I'm just focusing on the market research aspect. Before entry, see, Kia, the brand was existing for a long while. But the entry they made into Indian market was after a lot of surveys, market research. And what did they do on market research? They understood the Indian market very well. And if you just look upon the Kia models, it was only SUVs because that was the market research outcomes they did. Nowadays, every family too. So earlier SUVs were preferred only for business purposes, but not anymore. Where every common man now, instead of buying a hatchback, they wanted to buy an SUV where family ride and they can accommodate their entire family. So this was the market research outcome for Kia. They understood that SUV going forward, SUV is going to be the preference for Indian customers. Not only that, but that comes with a logic also because the ground clearance of an SUV is higher. And for Indian road conditions and infrastructure, that is what is preferred by the Indian customers. So all these are market research outcomes. Products were already there. Car as a product was already there in India. But Kia as a brand was new to the Indian market, so they had to take expert opinion. They went and discussed with auto experts, understood what is the driving style of Indian customers, what is the technology they provide inside the car, what are all the features they wanted inside the car, how much is the preferred ground clearance by Indian customers. So, what is the height or length and width of the speed breakers? So, how frequently there are speed breakers in India? Our roads itself are like speed breakers only. So for that, how which variant is going to be best suited? So these are all the market research outcomes of Kia. So what they did, they went only for SUVs, a major hit with all the facilities because they were one of the brand which came with lot of infotainment facilities and people were so very happy. So otherwise, very normal music system and just few things as an add-on advantages. But when Kia came out with an effort, initially that pricing is it was very attractive and lot of features. So we all were so very attracted and surprised to have so many features inside the car. Performance of the engine took this backseat. Okay, so similar to Domino's, so when they introduced, they highlighted themselves as a quick delivery brand, 30 minutes promise challenge. They were focused on what are the ingredients they put in their pizza, how delicious are their pizza, nothing. But their target or strategy was to deliver it within 30 minutes. So similarly, so what not that it is not good. Kia's models are not good, but then this is what they understood from the market research that Indian customers are looking for these aspects, and that is what I wanted to tell them. And they are a successful brand now. So these are the outcomes of market research. So similar to Colgate also, if I wanted to go with a brick and salt, though as a toothpaste manufacturer, I am there. But this variant is new for which I do a market research. Maybe I take some blogs, white papers, published articles from the Dental Association stating that salt and brick are very good for the oral hygiene or gums, right? So that is the inference I take. Based on the market research, I go with the new product launch. So market research method is one forecasting technique, which will give you an idea is there is an acceptance for your products initially. Customer also will not know. You involve your customers, okay, prospective customers through surveys, questionnaire, and interviews and all that. They won't know. If you go and ask them, yeah, salt and brick toothpaste, would you like or not? And we also might have read or heard any article, any doctor saying that, yes, that is good for gums and health. We would obviously say, yes, I would like to buy that product if launched. So that is an input you are getting through market research. Okay, completely based on the inputs, feedback taken, not performance of your brand. So in due course that you will know. But initially, since there is no data, okay, this is how you have to conduct the market research. Okay, problem identification, sample research you will do, data collection, data analysis. Most of the marketing agencies do this market research on behalf of the brand. You step inside any mall or into a public place, they will always come out with a coupon saying that you fill it, there is a lucky draw and all that. So this is nothing to gather data or your phone number. So after which that will be sold to the respective business entities, and they will approach you for conducting market research. Okay. So it reduces the gap between producers and customers. So since it is a direct input that is gathered from the customers or maybe through online and all that, even LinkedIn is taken as a platform for doing market research, doing or floating any technology or and it's going in for any logo design. So because that's a forum, professional forum, right? You have like-minded people present there. You conduct a market research, conduct a survey, and get inputs and understand what is their thinking level or what is their expectation. Okay, these are all qualitative type of forecasting. So this is what Starbucks also does. As I was telling you, before introducing a new menu into their list, they do market research. They understand whether this flavor with so much of aroma and so less sugar or this sugar level will be liked by the customers or not. So directly they test it with their customers, those who are coming inside the shop, or else they take inference from any article published and suggest that this is a diet-free dish or this is a diet with high low calorie food and all that better for fitness. So this is how Starbucks also do its market research before going in for any for any outlet. They do a lot of surveys. They do market research where they have to locate their new outlet. For menu list also they do market research. The next method is the panel consensus method. So here too, for all these four methods, you will not be having historic data. Okay. But when the product is new, the market research, when you will go is when you collect the first-hand information from the customers. When you will do panel consensus is even for the same product when you wanted to launch, if you wanted to understand the feasibility of the product production. So Colgate, again taking the same example of salt and brick, you have understood from market research from the customer, yes, they would like to test this or use this product. So coming back, you wanted to discuss with your internal crew or team whether production of this product is possible. Salt and brick, can they be combined? Will they not give any chemical reaction? Or will it be producible? What assembly line changes they have to make? So that is what we call as panel consensus method. So having opinion, expert opinion on the feasibility of the project or product with your internal experts. You call them, you brainstorm with them. What is the capital required for investment? What is the expansion you wanted to do with the capacity? All this you will check with your internal expert, that is called as panel consensus method. Okay. Next is historical analogy. So here is what is the answer for what you had asked, Subrat. So, for example, if there is a new product, yes, we go in for market research. If iPhone 16 is getting launched, they go for market research because iPhone is a product is there in the market, but then 16 is a new model. What is the best qualitative forecasting technique to go with, or is the method selection is case specific? Case specific, Subrat. There is no one answer for all the one solution for all the problems. Case specific only. That's why everywhere I'm taking inferences with brands. Okay, that's what I'm coming to historical analogy. So here, example for example, you remember, imagine I'm going for one more model. Every year, iPhone comes with new launch of their variant. Imagine this October, they will come with the September, October, they will come with iPhone 16 or 15 Pro plus some other new model. So for which they will do market research. What had they given in the previous iPhone model? What were all the lacunas? And they will correct it and they will tell them these are the features to be introduced. They go in for market research, understand, and they will launch the new one. That is fine. They will go for either market research or to understand whether it is possible to produce an internally feasible situation or solution. They will go with panel consensus. What if the iPhone case manufacturer for iPhone 16, there is a case manufacturer. If what he will do if he had to understand or forecast the sales of his case. When iPhone 16 itself is a new product, for that itself the brand is doing market research. How will I know when this comes as an aligned product for the sales of iPhone 16? Because I need to know the sales of iPhone 16 to produce cases for iPhone 16. So this is where I go with an analogy. So presuming that with when iPhone 15 sales happen, how many iPhone 15 sales cover sales happen or case sales happen? So what would have happened when shampoos or soaps were introduced initially? They might have gone with the logic of understanding or who are using some perfumes or something to wash their body. So preferring that they are their prospective customers who will wash their body with soap. Or else when shampoos were introduced, going with some logic that whoever is using soaps are expected to use shampoos also. It's an analogy coming right or true. But for that, the ground level comparison has to be done logical. So this is what they will do. Going with any other similar type of product which is done or maybe and when it is launched in some other markets, in Western markets, in the Western countries. So how this has happened, how come customers have reacted. So you take that as precedence, that you take as a forecast and go with the analogy. Again, this is periodical only. So immediately, very soon, you will understand which thread you have to catch and you will fall in line with quantitative technique. Right? Okay. So the weaknesses, yes, it relies on analogy being right. Not always, not that those who are using soap will always go for shampoo. Though few of them or many of them will go for natural way of washing their hair as well or putting Ayurvedic products as well. But this has that weakness, but cannot be avoided as well. Final method is the Delphi method. So expert opinion method. So I consult and take opinion from all the experts available, which Kia Motors also did, along with their market research, which they did with their customers. They did Delphi method also to understand how the car has to be with the technicalities, with the specifications and all that. For that, went in for the Delphi method, taking expert opinion. Then this is what we did in panel consensus also. So what is the difference between panel consensus and Delphi method? In panel consensus too, it is the expert opinion sought. But then it is the internal experts within the organization with having more focus towards the feasibility of the product, production of the product. But in Delphi method, you have external experts across the globe. And that is where LinkedIn is taken as a platform where logistics professionals, supply chain professionals. So any supply chain problem experienced in your industry. So you float that problem and seek advice in a forum like LinkedIn with all the supply chain professionals, then it becomes a Delphi method, right? This is what UN is doing. So what do they do? Such as climate change, economic development, population growth. See, all these are maybe though the climate change has happened in the past, population growth has happened in the past, it is all predictions. So companies use Delphi method and take in panel discussion and then panel discussion. Is this understanding right? Not necessarily. It is not that one after the other it has to do. So for example, I will tell you, uh, Britannia cookies, if they wanted, see, earlier they rolled out, what is that, little hats. And they came with Muscatesco also. So now, of late, I saw a new ad saying that with salt and pepper, salt is basic, and with all the masala items, they are going for Western masala, 50-50. They might have done market research to understand if this combination people will like. Then they need not to go for Delphi again, not required, not necessary. They can directly go with panel consensus, asking the internal experts whether production of this Muscatesta is possible or not, because they have to go with a different assembly line. And so is Little Hearts. The shape of the Little Hearts biscuit is very, very different. They need not to go with Delphi at all. Instead, they can ask their panel consensus, panel members alone, whether this shaped biscuit is possible to produce. Not that one after the other method only has to be done. So these are all the methods available. Based on your business method requirements, you can go in for either Delphi or panel consensus or market research. So in this case of Britannia biscuits, they need not to go for expert opinion using Delphi method. Okay, sufficient they have done market research, understood that Yes, where this problem will come is like what happened to our Maggie in between. So they found out there is a high some what is that level? So that is very high in Maggie noodles and it is not good to consume. So there they went in for Delphi method to prove, to authenticate that those levels are very manageable or negligible only in their Maggi noodles. So they have to prove it and come out with it. So in such cases, that is required. So otherwise, if you just wanted to go with a routine feasibility option, then you can restrict with panel consensus. So since these methods are available, not that I have to use all the forecasting techniques, then it becomes a khichdi, right? And it's a time consuming process also not required. So whatever is required as per your business functionings and operations, you have to go or restrict with those methods only. It is not one after the other method. It is like these are the methods available. You can go with any method, right? So this is what UN is doing. So with this quick rapid fire, you will understand when to use which method. Again, if the same business entity also, you will be using different forecasting methods in different levels or different requirements. So that you will understand in this. See, imagine there is a new startup on green toys, sustainable toys for kids. It's a new startup company. New startup company in the sense, no historic data. They have to go with the qualitative forecasting technique only. Okay. So keep that in mind. So now tell me, which forecasting method should they use for the logo design? They wanted to design a logo for this green toy company. Which forecasting method should they use?
Uh, I think panel discussion.
Good. They can either go in for panel discussion or else, since it's a logo which has to depict the sustainability factor of them, they can also go in for Delphi. More expert opinion because other perspective. Panel discussion, more we focus on feasibility of that. But logo is one which is going to project. See, Mintra in between had problems with their logo. So that is the time they went in for expert opinion. They took a Delphi method, asked or invited experts to contribute ideas on their logo. They went in for that. Delphi may not be a bad option, but sorry, panel consensus may not be a bad option here, but Delphi is going to be more better here since your logo is a face or image for others to grasp your brand name. Okay. Then second, which one should they use for eco-friendly or sustainability factor?
Panel discussion or Delphi.
Right. So here too, they can go in for panel discussion or Delphi. The choice is there because since it's sustainability and eco-friendly, expert opinion can be sought. Which one for the sales of the product?
Quantitative methods.
No, you are new here. The new startup on
Historical forecasting. They can prefer forecasting for simple product.
okay, similar product, how they have done in this, either they can go in for historical analogy or they can simply go in for market research also. They can ask, I'm going to introduce a new green toy, sustainable toys. Will you like it for your kid? Simple market research also will do here for sales of the product. So fourth, which one for identifying percentage of kids living in a community, region or city?
Market research.
As simple as that. Now you got the point. It is market research because demographics always you will get from the market research. So which one for identifying the income levels of the target group?
Market research.
Again, market research, rightly said. So which one for the type of fiber, metal, wood, plastic to be used in the production of the toys?
Market research and panel discussion.
Panel discussion is more correct way. Market research, yes, you can ask your customers which type you would prefer, and that would become too expensive. If you are able to do that, fine. Otherwise, as you rightly said, panel consensus will be more appropriate here. And which one to understand the past sales of similar toys in a specific region, customer preferences, price range in which more toys were brought, etc.
Historical forecasting.
Exactly. So historical analogy. I've got it. See, one brand again, new startup. for their different requirements, they are going with different qualitative forecasting technique. It is not going to be sufficient if I do only market research, understand, yes, based on that, I launch the product. And also, there is no hard and fast rule that compulsorily all the forecasting techniques. See, for the purpose of completing or covering all the techniques, it is not that I need to cover all the forecasting methods. Based on your requirement alone, you can go in for using the type of the forecasting method. Otherwise, see, it becomes a lengthy, ongoing, non-stop activity. At one point, you need to do this, wind up this activity, launch the product, gather some data, and quickly move on to a quantitative technique, right? So that's what qualitative forecasting suggests. And with that, we come to the end of this session. We started with business analytics, went on to understand the four types of supply chain analytics with the Tata Motors case study, and moved on to forecasting, understood how important forecasting as an activity is. And today's session, we restricted only towards the qualitative methods. We saw about the market research, historical analogy, panel consensus, and the Delphi technique, and where appropriately these methods can be used. But the logic was the same here. Whenever you go in, whenever there is no historic data or past data, or the data is even scarce, so in that case, we will go for qualitative forecasting technique, right? Any queries, any doubts, Shubhra? Next session, we are going to deal with quantitative forecast and using Excel, how we are going to use that and take business decisions.
Sure, ma'am. Ma'am, just a request. Could you please share this particular presentation so that I can go through the case studies which you have mentioned in the class?
What you want this to be shared with you as well?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
No, that has already been shared. Okay, I'll just check. Because usually it is already being shared and they used to share with the participants. If that had not happened, so immediately I will facilitate with the coordinator team.
Sure, ma'am.
All these
Thank
slides
you.
will be shared well in advance to you. I'll just check with them.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Shubhrat. Have a nice day today. Enjoy your rest of the day. Take rest. And see you in next week's class on Saturday. No,
Yes.
today
I
we have
think
a briefing session, a
yes,
simulation
yes,
briefing session. Right.
yes,
See
yes.
you on
Thank you.
Tuesday.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah,
It was a
take care.
wonderful session.
Bye bye. Thank you. Actually, I have a quiz also. Since there are no participants, no much participants, I had to restrict with rapid fire only. So let's see next Saturday session if there are participants, we'll have an online quiz.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay, Shubhra. Bye. Take care.
Bye. Thank you, ma'am.